This is our investing / trading preview for the week of the 18th of June 2021. We featured today Colin Rust of Oppenheimer and his opinions on Plaid and where we're going forward with Tesla. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. We also want to thank our Patreon supporters. Your support is greatly appreciated and makes a huge difference in the viability of our channel and is greatly appreciated. We also want to encourage you to take time to like and subscribe. So each week we like to sort of set up the trading week based on numbers we're seeing that might be influential in terms of what's going to happen with trading activities. We have a thing going that we call a 3-day rule. So what that means is that anytime Tesla announces something big, we wait about 3 days and then we start to hear from analysts and then the big investors what they think of what occurred. And so we expect midweek to sort of hear from those analysts relative to what their opinions are of Plaid and its potential impact on Tesla. So in getting down this road, we're kind of two sections today. One is sort of reviewing comments made by Colin Rust on Yahoo Finance, and then we're moving on to sort of, what is the data or numbers looking like heading into the week. And so the first part here would be that there's an analyst, the head analyst at Oppenheimer. His name is Colin Rust. He is obviously a finance guy, and sort of his recommendations tend to have a lot of influence. He's one of the few Tesla bulls. He has a target price of $1,000 for the shares, and we kind of reviewed his general comments on what just happened with Plaid. The first thing indicated was that it was his feeling that this showed technological leadership by Tesla in this space. And he thought that this was a good thing as a demonstration of Tesla's capabilities, and that he was looking forward to how the innovations that are being provided to the top-of-the-line cars will start to filter down into other vehicles over time. His second thought process was that he is one of the folks that's emphasizing what's going to happen with autonomous driving, and his feeling was that the shift in steering wheel is part of walking down the road of getting to this autonomous driving station over time. I'd have to say his third comment was that when asked about, well, what's going on in China, what about the declining sales there? And what he indicated there was that Tesla, over its history, has a habit of fairly bumpy rollout to vehicles to different parts of the world. So you might think numbers are a little bit low in one spot, but it can take a time for ships to get to their destinations, et cetera, and this can influence the ability to make deliveries as efficiently as you would like, and therefore have the numbers to support the firm doing well. One of the surprise statistics that he provided that I actually have to admit I didn't know is that as much as half of Tesla's production actually happens in the last month of the quarter for a number of reasons. And so June is a very, very important month for Tesla, and it's our understanding that May was way above expectation, and we're expecting June to be the same. He indicated that probably the biggest day of the quarter for Tesla, or the next few months, will be 2 days after the close, the 2nd or 3rd of July. Tesla will release the production numbers / sales numbers, and that'll be a big catalyst, I believe, for the stock, because I think they're blowing out the lights currently. So I guess as I heard that, I kept wondering, wow, if you already know that you have to produce and deliver for the quarter, why not just make the push to produce consistent over the entire 2 or 3 months rather than having to pile it up in the last few weeks. And I don't have an answer for that, but I have heard some comments in terms of how process works at Tesla, and it is their process of sort of executing in this fashion. So it's all hands on deck, 24 hours a day, to deliver great numbers by the end of the quarter, is my understanding of where we are. The biggest surprise, I would say, from Colin was that instead of sort of anticipatorily talking about how the numbers that come from Plaid are going to impact Tesla, and therefore anticipatorily upgrading or seeing or expecting big numbers from Tesla, there's a real wait and see on what those numbers might be, and then reacting to those numbers, which I was surprised by. I was expecting that you'd simply sort of calculate how many vehicles sold immediately and what the run rate that Elon had anticipated might be, and therefore you could anticipate what added profit and revenue might be from Plaid, and then allow that to be baked into the stock price. I really think that this is typically how things are done, but I would say that, as I just said, my surprise is that as he went through his analytical process, he didn't at all discuss Plaid revenue, which I was kind of surprised by. The next component of this was that, he kind of indicated that this is an evolutionary sort of improvement that we're seeing with Plaid, and that it's a good thing to keep Tesla at the head of the curve for EVs, but it really wasn't a revolutionary change, it was more evolutionary, and that we're still focused on, hey, how do the numbers turn out as of the end of the month, and then the numbers being distributed beginning of July. So I'm hopeful that we get to see other than what he's describing. So one of the things we typically do in setting up our week is sort of review, well, how are our market maker numbers looking going into this period, as a way to guide what we should expect from large investors / traders on this. And I'd like to encourage you to go over to Yahoo Finance and then type in Tesla, TSLA, and then mid-page right, you'll see a line that says options. And then after you look at options, go down to the largest number I was seeing was 12,000 units of the 600 calls that are out there. And then at the 650 level, there's a large number of call options there as well. I think about 7,500 of them. But in between, I was kind of surprised to see fairly small numbers of open interest, someplace in the 1 to 2,000 units, everywhere from between 600 and 650. And then on the put side of the house, we've seen a lot of puts right around the 600 level recently. And this sort of gets us into what we've been seeing over the last 2 weeks, and that is that my prediction, based on how many puts and calls were out there, was that the number of puts was kind of high when it came to the 600, and so our target was sub 620 but above 600 in terms of how the week would finish out, and the numbers finished sort of right in line at the 610 level of what we expected. I would argue that for the coming week, without any new catalysts, and I'm hopeful that the Plaid revenue does push the stock price into the 620s, 630s, even if we're not going to get 650 to 700 that I was hoping for, because the Plaid revenue impact isn't as large as expected, or Elon is actually sort of under promising what the expected revenue profits might be. So we look forward to what I would say is a mellow week, with the exception being what's going to happen Tuesday Wednesday, possibly into Thursday on the updraft. The coming week also has triple expirations going on, because the third Friday of every week, multiple futures and options all expire at the same time. So that expiration process can result in a lot of volatility unexpectedly. So it's another thing that we're sort of keeping an eye out for, expecting, looking forward to, etc. So I would say that I think things are good for Tesla. One of the concerns I had was we were going to see a lot of sort of puts and downdrafts on the stock price, but I really think that what it's showing is we're sort of consolidated here around 610, and it looks like somewhere between 590 and about 620 is the trading range that Tesla has established until we have major new numbers about revenue and profit. So, you have to accept what you see and then work with what you see. So I really think we've established this. When it comes to heavily hedging on the put side here, we certainly have some inflation challenges when it comes to the economy, so therefore all stocks could be negatively impacted by this. But it looks to me like we're in a fairly solid zone of success here, and success meaning we aren't at 550, we aren't at 500, we're at 610, and it looks to me like this is not a huge sort of high number that Tesla unexpectedly might get knocked off of by 100 points. 20 points, 30 points, yes, and a nice recovery I think is highly likely. There are two things that in this period of the quarter that tend to be influential. One is if we could get a few upgrades by analysts, and two is if there's new news by the company about where we are in terms of sales, profits, revenue. And so those are the kind of things that we're keeping our eye peeled for and look forward to reporting on if in fact we do get them. And so in general, the whole analyst thing has been fairly quiet for Tesla. And based on what Mr. Russ had to say, it seems like we're going to end up in a fairly quiet zone for the next couple of weeks until we get these numbers for the end of this Q2. I guess as we talked about before, the other things that were lurking there would be news on new factories potentially opening in Germany or in Austin, as well as it's amazing to watch the whole Chinese discussion going here with they're doing well, they're doing badly discussions going back and forth. So again, we'll keep you posted on all the above as we get more info, but I'm anticipating a fairly neutral week with a 10 to 20 point trading range, and in general the stock being up, because when we keep adding new revenue sources and those numbers keep getting bigger, I think it's helpful in terms of growth of stock to have this extra profit and revenue to work with. So I just think that in general we're in good shape, and we're looking forward to a good week of investing / trading with Tesla. The final thing, well, we want to thank you again for joining. Please remind you to take time to like and subscribe, and your support on Patreon would be appreciated. I think you'll find the trading information and charts helpful in your process. We also want to encourage you to hit us on Facebook if you're interested in shares of SpaceX. We do have a few still available, and look forward to assisting you in that process as well. We'll finish up today with our health tips. Wanted to encourage you to not go to bed within 5 hours or 4 hours of eating, minimum 2 hours to let the food digest. Also wanted to encourage you to consider a 5-2 or other diet in the fasting space to help health effects as well. We also wanted to encourage you to consider no more than a salad prior to lovemaking as a way to limit the amount of blood flow going to your stomach, and now that blood flow is available elsewhere for enjoyment. We also wanted to note that once a week fried foods is a wise move, limiting the chance of type 2 diabetes. And then we also want to encourage you to consider a couple of 3 times a week getting out into nature and engaging in something you might want to look at called forest bathing. I think it's a great idea, and I work to get out there daily for some biking and exercise, etc. We look forward to your comments here on what we've shared today. Constructive criticism, always appreciated. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Tschüss German, au revoir French, Lehithro, Hebrew, Hoda Hafez Farsi, Starasviche Russian, Ni hao ma Chinese, Konbanwa Japanese, Heido Swedish, good day our friends in Australia, and in Jamaica we say Nuff respect wa goodman. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. Bye for now. We look forward to your commentary and input.